is mind-boggling. I decided that I said, you know what, maybe I'll just go Facebook Live and kind of chat and see what other people are thinking, and maybe we can share information. I think this is, somebody says, I've been needing to hear from you. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, I needed to hear from you too, because, you know, as much as I might have my opinions on the theory behind voting and everything, I have to admit that I've been nothing less than entirely shocked by what I've been seeing. Amazing. I mean, I really honestly thought that, you know, that Hillary Clinton had it in the bag. I thought that it was over before it started. You know, somebody saying people are tired of the establishment. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that what you're really seeing in this election is you're seeing people that are just saying, look, we're just tired of it. You know, we will take anything that's different from what we've had before. I guess they don't feel that a Trump presidency would be any worse than the crap that we've had over the last 20, 30, 40 years. We've got a Congress that doesn't perform. We've got politicians that spend more time fighting than they spend actually getting anything done. There are a lot of black people, though, who feel that we had a good president the last 8 years, you know, and I would say, as it pertains to most other presidents out here, it's easy to argue that Barack Obama was as good as any of the other white presidents, and he was a half white president. He's half white, half black, right? He's biracial. But I'll just tell you, I don't know about y'all, but I will say that I did not expect to see what I'm seeing right now. I did not expect that you would see what you're seeing right now. Now, let me know if you're on Facebook. Let me know if you can hear me. I want to make sure that my audio is coming through okay and all that good stuff. I feel like this is this is one of those times where you have one of those town halls and you just kind of all get together and say, okay, what we gonna do now? The market's tanking. Yep, somebody mentioned that, and that's an indicator. The stock market, and I'm an expert on the stock market. My dissertation was on the stock market. It's right there next to me. I always keep it nearby. But the stock market is smarter typically than the media. It's smarter than a lot of the experts and indicators that we have that are already out here. The stock market is telling you a lot about what they think is going to happen. Right now, they're seeing a Trump presidency, and if you watch CNN and everything else, they're just sitting around like, what the fuck just happened? At the Hillary Clinton campaign headquarters, I think they had already started planning the victory parties and everything. And I can't help but wonder if Hillary Clinton herself, was feeling like she was going to win, if she felt good about her chances. I mean, you just didn't see it coming. You saw the polls were all saying that Hillary Clinton was going to, kill Donald Trump. You saw mainstream media. Mainstream media was really big on just sort of putting the nail in the Trump coffin. I mean, just, like Trump is dead. There's no way he's going to win. He's a sexist. And I mean, because they took the scandals and ran with them. And honestly, I felt a little funny about that. I felt like the fix was in. I felt like when you talk about the elite and the wealthy, there was something about the way the media was portraying Trump that made me feel like they had a vested interest in seeing to it that Donald Trump was not the president. There was just something about it. I didn't feel like even CNN, and I like CNN. I think they're better than most media outlets out here, but I didn't feel that CNN was being fair. I felt that they were kind of going overboard. They were kind of downplaying Hillary Clinton's little issue with the emails and the whole, matter of national security. Somebody says, Ray Charles says, are you happy she didn't win because you threw a lot of dirt on her name? No, I don't give, I mean, I really believe, I don't vote for Trump or Clinton. I voted for the black community. That's who I vote for, and I don't know if, I don't know how other people feel about it, but I really believe that the progress of the black community is going to come down to what black people do. I think that the, you know, I think that if you're talking about what's going to happen in our future in terms of who, you know, where we're going as a people, that's determined by you. You know, I talked to a young lady about that today. I said, you know what? I said, I remember in 1992 when I was in college, I remember that there was the same excitement about Bill Clinton being elected that there was about Hillary. You know, that everybody was talking about it. All my favorite celebrities were endorsing Bill Clinton. Everybody got pumped up about it. And I remember that I was pumped up because I didn't know better. I didn't understand politics. I didn't understand how corrupt and how crooked the system is. So I was pumped up too. I thought, yeah, that's right. You know, if you're a Republican, you must be a coon, and the Democrats are good and Republicans are bad. And I kind of went into that logic, even though I didn't realize at the time, even back then, they were kind of the same party. And so I was going to vote. I was going to go vote for Clinton. And I remember that I was on my way to the voting booth, and I got there, and there was a long line. And I pulled up on my bike. I was going to vote on my way to work, and I was late for work. And I remember thinking, I want to vote for Bill Clinton, but if I get fired from my job today and I can't pay my bills, Bill Clinton ain't gonna give me no job. Bill Clinton is not gonna put money in my pocket. My life is not gonna be determined by whether or not Bill Clinton wins the election. That's gonna be good for him, and maybe even good for the country if that's what you believe. But it wasn't going to be good for me, you know. And so, long story short, I stayed on my bike and went home. You know, I was like, I didn't go home. So I went to work. I said, and that was when I kind of realized, I remember at that time, I remember thinking, yeah, you know, what happens nationally is important, but what happens locally in my own life is determined by me. And I think that for the black community, that's one of the things that we may want to kind of remember is that, hey Angie Tweets, how you doing? I always got to say hi to Angie Tweets. I think she's my digital girlfriend now. She shows up all the time and she loves me to death, and I love her too. But anyway, you know, the thing that I believe when it comes to black people is that you have to be fully aware that no matter who's in the White House, whether you're dealing with so-called friend or so-called foe, the people that are going to determine your future are you. It resides in your community. The question is, a bigger question, you know, than who you voted for is, you know, did you start a business with your family this year? How many meetings have you had with relatives to discuss ways to leave wealth for the next generation? Are you educating your own children? Because we knew even Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama wasn't educating your kids. So you know Donald Trump ain't going to educate your kids. I mean, you might literally have, you know, 4 years, maybe even 8 years of President Donald Trump. And so the question is, what are you going to do with that? I mean, I'm looking at right now, I'm watching CNN, and I see that, Trump right now holds 238 electoral votes to Clinton's 209. I'm looking at these maps. They're super red. All they're talking about is the disappointment of the Democrats, you know. And so it's a mess. Somebody say, isn't Trump a CEO? I didn't see the rest. Let's see here. Angie Tweet says, I believe blacks will thrive with each other economically. That is true. I think that when we work together, somebody said, I want to be Boyce's son, man. Well, hey, bro, if you want to be my son, you already are my son. Just hang out with me. And believe me, you can't hang out with me for a while without seeing the world a little differently and learning a few things. I am qualified to teach, and I try not to be judgmental in the process. So I'll meet you wherever you are and be supportive. I'm sitting here watching CNN. I'm looking at, and it looks like nationally Trump has 48.2% of the vote to Clinton's 47.2%. I think that's and in Pennsylvania, it looks like Pennsylvania is neck and freaking neck. Like they are. I'm trying to see how much. It looks like 82. Is that 92% of the precincts have reported? I mean, it's so freaking close. I mean, Pennsylvania is 2,661,289 to 2,658,297, and Trump is in the lead in Pennsylvania. Let's see here. I'm looking at somebody said American Nazi Party, Hillary's done, PA stand up, Trump Nation. Somebody says blacks are tired of being unemployed and not being able to grasp a piece of the American dream. That's true. I do wonder. I mean, I'd be curious to know what you guys think about black enthusiasm. You know, it's almost like with black folks, you know, because we had a little bit more of the real thing. Like you ain't really had 100% black president, but you had a biracial president, you know, who had certain elements to his personality that made us feel comfortable as black people. Do you feel that maybe black people just weren't as excited about the same old shit? I mean, do you think that maybe black people were like, you know what, you're not Barack Obama, so who cares? I mean, you saw, who was it? Oh, wow, look at this. I see Nomalanga Mushali Moses, a friend of mine. She says, I'm so glad the Democrats are stunned. That is what they deserve for taking the black vote for granted. We've well done to the black people who didn't play sucker to Hillary and Obama, clapping hands, election 2016. Oof, Lordy B. This is interesting. I mean, I'm curious to see what the emotional energy would be like after this election. I mean, I know it's very high right now, but I'm wondering if it's gonna, stay this way or what. But this is something else. You know, this is interesting. So let me see here. So what do you guys think? I mean, do you think that Trump is going to win? Do you think he's got a shot? Let me see here. I'm going to see what my peeps on the African History Network have to say about that. Let's see. Notebook says they're tied in Pennsylvania. Valerie Jacobs. Yeah, Pennsylvania is super close. Pennsylvania is extremely close. Shimray says, set up a family business 2 years ago and my people are still asleep. Right on. I mean, you know, but you know what? I'm gonna tell you, you don't, just because your people are asleep doesn't mean you have to be asleep. And you know, the definition of who your people are, I think that can vary. I mean, you got some people that may look like you, but they may not get it. They may not think like you. They may not be on the same page. They may not be ready for the black economic revolution. You know, and I will say, though, that eventually everybody will get on board with this. I think that progress is something that you can't put back in a bottle. It's not something you can control. And I really believe that in 50 years, a lot of the things that we might say that seem crazy and radical and hardcore are going to be kind of mainstream. I really believe that. I don't think it's going to be a big deal for someone to say the things that I say now, say in the year 2056 or 2066. Angie Tweet says, do I think men were not ready for a female president? Yeah, that could play a part. I mean, I think that you have some sexism. I really became exposed to sexism in terms of seeing it in its hardcore form when I started allowing more women onto my YouTube channel. And I started seeing how the men were treating them. Like you had a sister named Maria Lloyd who challenged Dr. Umar Johnson. And when she challenged Umar over the money, remember Umar collected all that money for the school and ain't nobody seen the school, ain't nobody seen the plan, ain't nobody seen nothing, you know. And so Maria was like, well, where's the money? I gave you money, but you're not accountable to us. You're not telling us anything. And I remember seeing guys like, oh, you fat raggedy bitch, you know, I mean, just really saying things that I thought were just kind of crazy. And it got to the point where I just had to tell people, if you're going to disrespect women on my YouTube channel, I don't want you here, you know, because I internalize that. You know, I think about the women who loved me and raised me. I think about my mama. I think about my grandmama. I think about my sister. I think about my daughters. And, you know, and I wouldn't want anybody talking to them like that. And so let's see here. So doesn't that mean isn't Trump a CEO? Doesn't that mean he'll be a president? I don't know. I think you're saying, does that mean he'll be a good president? No, I don't think Trump being a CEO makes him a good president automatically. I really don't think Trump will be a good president. Dr. Watkins, what do you think the black establishment will do if Trump wins? You know what? I think if Trump wins, the black establishment, they're going to do what they always do. They're going to huddle right up behind the Democrats and start strategizing on how they can win the next election and how they can get you excited. So I think that also, but I think they're going to learn. They're going to learn a few things about politics. They're going to learn that the Democrats have gone too far to the left. I think there are a lot of regular American people, regular folks who ain't going to say a whole lot. It's old folks just sitting at home watching TV, feeling like the world done lost his damn mind, where Obama done got you thinking that boys can be girls on Tuesday and then become boys again on Friday and all this other crazy that Jesus and God and religion that has no place in the school and that is damn near evil, and that getting an abortion is like getting your fingernails cut, and it's like very, very liberal. There's a difference between being liberal and being super liberal. And I feel like our country over 8 years has become super duper motherfucking liberal. And so as a result, you have a lot of regular American people who are just like, what the hell, man? I can't get with all of this. I know some black folks down in Kentucky. I'm talking about black people who are good people. They ain't coons. They ain't haters. They're not negative people. They're just regular people. And they kind of are like, man, I want to get behind this Obama presidency. But some of the stuff that was coming out of that, particularly maybe the LGBT stuff or the mistreatment of the black church, really bothered them. It baffled them. And so they were like, and I like Obama, but they're like, I don't co-sign on all of this. So I think that what happens is that when you got the Democrats, like, they will make fun of them as being sort of these urbanized latte sipping liberals up in New York. There's a perception of the liberals, right? They tend to be the ones who are on college campuses, which tend to be very liberal. They tend to be in big cities, which tend to be very liberal. They control the media outlets, which tend to be more liberal than not. So as a result, what you end up seeing is you see liberals being very, very loud, very, very, very vocal. And so my mistake is, a lot of people made the mistake, is that, we think that the loudest person is the one who's going to win the election. Well, apparently that's not true. We're finding, now you're finding that there is a silent majority. There's a silent group of people in America who are like, we sick of this shit. We want America to be different. And what's really sad, here's the sad part. I saw this was actually mentioned on CNN today. The saddest part of all of this is that most of these people who voted for Trump do not think Trump it will be a good president. They do not like Donald Trump. They do not think Trump is a good guy. They think that he's too erratic. They think he's unqualified. So it's like, why would you vote for somebody that you think is unqualified? Well, because they ain't got no other option. Donald Trump is a manifestation of extreme American frustration from people who are sick of the same old shit. They're sick of Washington. Hillary represents Washington. Washington is the only thing more insane than Donald Trump is Washington itself. The only thing more ridiculous than Donald Trump is the establishment, the Washington establishment itself. And so I'm looking at, just so you guys know, an update. Donald Trump has 238 electoral votes. Hillary Clinton has 215. It looks like Trump is ahead in Michigan. He's ahead in Wisconsin. But they said Michigan, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin are too close to call. I guess a lot of districts still have to send in their information. Now, somebody says 254. CNN is showing me 238. Now, where did y'all see 254? Fox says 254. Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's their estimate. You think that could be it? I don't know. But I'm literally watching CNN right now, and it says 238 on the screen. So I'm very surprised that that's interesting. Maybe that reflects the bias of the media. Maybe the conservative media wants to believe that it's 254, and somebody else is saying Coke Buzz. Is that Coke Buzz? Whoever says 244. So I don't know. That's a good question. Like, why are the numbers different? I don't know. I just know that this is interesting. I mean, y'all know that it takes 270 to win, right? So somebody says CNN's afraid. I think they are. I really think that they're scared to see what's going to happen. By the way, if you guys write this down, we actually in the blackhistoryschool.com, where we teach Black history. We believe in educating our own children. We don't believe in letting white folks educate our kids. We can do it ourselves. We established the blackhistoryschool.com. If you go to theblackhistoryschool.com, we have a great video series that we just created. We spent a lot of time creating it, called Heads of Hate. Heads of Hate. And what Heads of Hate does is it goes back to every American president, going all the way back to George Washington. And there is a short movie, a short video about the horrible things that each of those presidents did to black people. And so if you go back, somebody said I sounded racist with what I just said. Well, whatever. If you understand racism, you know that black people don't actually have the power to implement a racist system against white people, because we don't have the ability to systematically oppress white people and keep them in a subordinated position. So therefore, some would argue that I don't have the ability to be a racist. So there you go. If you want to say I just sounded like I don't like white folks, then that's fine. You can say that. I mean, I don't dislike white folks. I just don't like white supremacy. I don't like you mistreating me because I'm black. I don't like you believing that somehow I'm supposed to be, in some sort of, position that's inferior to you because I'm black. I don't like the fact that that you see all the data that shows that we're being mistreated, that our kids are in the worst schools, that our neighborhoods are being neglected, and that we're the ones suffering economically, but yet you don't give a shit. So therefore, at the end of the day, you don't give a shit about me. I don't give a shit about you. So you can take your little funky ass opinion and go to hell on. All right. So anyway, with that, back to our regular scheduled program. If you want to see the video, you can go to headsofhate.com. If you go to headsofhate.com, you can see what I call real Black history. That's part of the Black History School. You also know we have the blackbusinessschool.com, where we teach Black people how to build. We teach people how to just develop businesses. Earlier today, I was talking about how the Asian community doesn't vote, and how basically the Asian community, despite the fact that they don't vote, they lead the nation economically and educationally. Now, I'm not trying to say that people shouldn't vote. I think you should vote if that's something you feel like you need to do. But I do believe that one of the fundamental premises of American liberty is that you have the right to decide what you want to do. It doesn't matter if people think if you don't vote, you don't count. It doesn't matter if somebody convinced you that your ancestors died for you. You have the right to vote. It doesn't matter that people will tell you they're not voting for Hillary is a vote for Trump. It doesn't matter. What matters is at the end of the day, as an American, you have a motherfucking right to make a decision, and nobody can take that away from you. Your ancestors did not die for you to become anybody's slave. We've been slaves for too long. I ain't trying to be a slave again, especially not to my own people. I'm not going to let you make me a slave, period. I'm going to make my own decision. If I don't want to make it, then I'm not going to make it. At the end of the day, voting is fine. You should vote if that's something you feel is your civic duty. But then at that point, spend, the amount of enthusiasm you have for voting for Hillary or voting for Trump or whoever you voted for, that same enthusiasm that you have for voting for a white politician, I hope that you will have an equal amount of enthusiasm for developing your own economic systems, developing businesses within your families, developing businesses within your communities. You have the same enthusiasm for buying Black. A lot of people have no enthusiasm for buying Black. They don't care nothing about it. They don't care nothing about Black people. They think Black people are not worth their time, but yet they'll go tap dance for Hillary Clinton in a minute. I'm not a fan of that. I think that's wrong. I think it's crazy. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's maniacal. I flip out when I see people having the discipline to stand in line for 3 hours just so they can vote, but they won't stand in line to go take a class on how to start a business, or they won't stand in line to go get some education, some knowledge that will make you strong. If you're going to stand in line to go vote for Hillary, then you should be standing in line to get something that's going to make your community stronger. You should stand in line for things that are going to build a nation, as opposed to make you somehow a minority partner in somebody else's conquest. So I'm up here. I'm watching CNN. I see Van Jones talking. I like Van. He's a smart brother. I wish he didn't just work so hard for the Democrats, but he's a political, he is a political operative, but I like the guy. Like, I don't think he's I don't think he's unethical. I think he does what he believes, but I think at the same time, I just really am not sure how comfortable I am when I see Black people that spend more time talking about Democratic issues than talking about just the Black community. Like, I focus on Black people. But I like Van Jones. I mean, Van's a smart dude, and if I ever meet him, it'll be nothing but love and respect. So I'm looking here, Wisconsin. It looks like I'm thinking Trump's going to win Wisconsin because at 84% and it's 49-45. New Hampshire looks too close to call, but New Hampshire's only got 4 electoral votes, so I don't think New Hampshire's a big deal per se. Anyway, so give me a second, guys. I gotta plug my phone in real quick. So hold on for 1 second. While you're waiting, do me this favor. If you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. Also, if you, not .com, that's .net, drboycewatkins.net. Also, if you want to know about some of our programs, go visit blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. Somebody type that in and put it into the feed so that other people can check it out. I'll be right back. I got to plug my cell phone in, and I got to use the bathroom, so give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I appreciate you waiting while I went to the bathroom. I know that's unconventional for somebody to be like, "Hey, I'll be right back. I gotta go pee." But I'm looking here. I see Holly Thompson says this week is going to be wild. Yes, it's going to be very wild and kind of crazy. Christopher Walker says America is still guilty and at the front in need to repair human lives from a catastrophic retreat. Must remove America's ability to be racist once and for all. Don't know what you mean by that, but I get your point. Michael Lee says the stock market is plunging. Yes, the stock market is plunging mainly because for the same reasons that the markets plunged during Brexit. The stock market, that's my thing. That's what I did my dissertation on. During Brexit, you had you basically have economic decline whenever a country reduces the amount of free trade. Like globalization is a funny thing. Like globalization leads to massive wealth transfers, and so countries that are doing really well don't always. Everybody doesn't equally benefit from globalization. Some people lose, but overall, as a country, as a world, we benefit, and every country benefits on the whole. So that decline in the stock market is due to the fact that a lot of corporations' profitability is going to decline as a result of globalization. Now, I'm looking here. Let's see. Somebody says, I guess you Americans are. Norville says, I guess you Americans are going to have to go to $5 minimum wage while I'm getting $14 in Canada. Sean says, you see, it was said on CNN, not enough black people voted. Interesting. Somebody says the iPhone stock dropped by 30%. Asa is asking, how do I feel about the market dropping? It drops, but I'll tell you, like, if you're an investor in the market, it's really okay. It's not the end of the world. The market will recover. If history is any indication, the market will recover. If you don't own stock, this might be a good time to jump in. I believe the market's going to get better. Because what happens is the market tends to overreact. The market tends to freak out and go bananas and berserk, like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end, and then it kind of comes back up again. Let's see here. Let's see. Ben Zito says your vote don't mean nothing if you don't know by now. Ever heard of the Electoral College? Well, I wouldn't say your vote doesn't mean nothing, but it doesn't mean what you think. So, I can't totally argue with you. Let me see what's going on here. I'm looking at CNN. I see, still 238 to 215. Now this is so interesting though. This makes me want to go to FoxNews.com because I want to see what Fox is saying. Because somebody was saying that Fox was saying that it was 254 to 218. Now Fox is saying, now their breaking news says they project Trump wins in Wisconsin, Iowa, and Georgia. Clinton notches a win in Nevada. Let's see here. Now they've got, look at that. Wow. That's so deep. I mean, it almost makes you wonder if the liberals are in denial. I don't know if the conservatives are overly optimistic. I mean, that's so strange. So right now, CNN says Trump. I'm literally tweeting this because this is important. I want to know what people think about this. CNN says Trump has 238, but Fox says Trump has 254. Who's in denial and who is being overly optimistic? That's deep. I'm really curious about that because I'm not a big political pundit kind of person, but I do find that quite fascinating that they're saying different things on different networks. And I know it's all based on estimates, but it's like, okay, so does that mean that your estimate is just extremely optimistic? Is that what's going on? That you just kind of want to believe that your guy's doing better than he is? Or is it because you feel, as on the liberal side, that maybe you want to be more cautious, maybe their margin of error is smaller. So maybe CNN has a different style of estimating, right? Like, because I think that if you do estimate and you estimate wrong, it becomes a big deal. I remember seeing when networks have done that and people gave them a hard time about it. So what do you guys think? Let me see here. I'm going to go to my homies at the African History Network and see what everybody's saying over here. And let me refresh the page so I can read your comments. I had to go plug in my phone because it just flaked out on me because I was on Periscope and it just got hot. The phone got hot. So these Samsungs be exploding and all kinds of stuff. So you got to be careful with that. But let me see here. All right, so actually, I'll start with my page, the Boyce Watkins page. Blame nobody and nothing but Wall Street. 244 MSNBC. So MSNBC, I guess, is in the middle. Let's see. Spiresu. I hope I said that right. It says it's 238 to 215. All right. So let me see here. Let me see what other people are saying right now. Let's see. Just so you guys know, I'm sort of scrolling to the different pages to try to find the comments here. Let's see here. Michael Lee says blacks who didn't vote turned your back on your ancestors who gave their lives for you to have for the right to vote equals ignorance. So y'all are some traitors. If you did not vote, you are a traitor, according to Michael Leith. But check it out, Michael. Check it out. Dr. Wilmer Leon, a noted political scientist at Howard University, made a very clear point. He said, your ancestors died for you to have the right to vote. They did not die for you to have the obligation to vote. And W.E.B. Du Bois also said he's not going to legitimize a crooked system by participating in that system. And here's the interesting thing. Here's the crazy part. Here's something. And maybe this will give you hope if you're crying over a Trump presidency, or you're worried. You think Trump's going to show up with chains and whips and put you in slavery on Tuesday. Look, I bet you this, and you can mark my words and record me saying this. Write this shit down right now, because you can mark my every syllable coming out of my mouth. I bet you that if Trump wins, and they know that black turnout was the reason that Trump did not win, I bet you in 2020 they worked 10 times harder to get the black vote. I bet you that they worked much, much harder to become sensitive to black issues. Bernie Sanders' campaign, they realized that they lost, they couldn't beat Hillary because they didn't go out and really reach out to black people. A lot of people take black folks for granted, and they end up losing elections because of it. They don't understand. Black people, when we're not excited, we don't get excited. But when we are enthusiastic, we become your best ally. We become very unified. We stick together in politics, and that is a strength of the community. So to me, if the Democrats lose and they feel like it's because black people didn't really show up, well, you know what? Maybe next time y'all do a little bit more. Maybe you work a little bit harder. I'm sorry. If you want my vote, you got to work for it. You got to show me. I'm like, okay, Hillary, you're talking, but it's really not registering right now, because you're talking about things that I don't really care about. I need to really know more about what you're doing about mass incarceration. I need to hear you talk a little bit about reparations. Maybe we can add that to the table of discussion. I need you to talk about funding black businesses. Hillary, Hillary, Trump, whoever, why is it that when I go look at the data in terms of how money is allocated to support businesses, black people always somehow end up at the bottom of the fucking list, and you don't care? Nobody says anything about it. Nobody's really doing anything to fix that. So if you can't answer those questions, then I don't really know what kind of conversation we can have. And I think that, I think this election will teach us a lot about this country. It'll teach you that, sometimes the loudest people aren't the ones who have the most power. Sometimes maybe the liberals have more bark than they have actual bite. I think that this election was all about rural Americans versus urban. I think there are a lot of people in the countryside who are just, they're just sick of the way the country's just went super left. And they're like, you know what, we need something different. We're sick of those fools in Washington. That's the one thing that unifies the country. We can fight all day about liberal, conservative, and, white, black political issues. But one thing that unifies the nation right now is the amount of disgust that they have for the way things are done in Washington. That is the one thing that unifies the entire country, is the fact that they hate politicians in D.C. The D.C. politicians are garbage. And I personally think black people who are working to, be down with the Washington establishment, black people who are working to become, Washington players and insiders. You hear me, Roland Martin? I don't know where Roland's at. I wonder if Roland's online right now. But, the black folks that are trying to be down with Washington, you're going in the wrong direction, man. The right direction for black people, because more and more people realize this, the right direction is that way, toward independence, toward strength, toward economic strength, toward sovereignty. Building businesses that employ our own people, learning how wealth works so you can really compete in America. America is not a political game. America is a wealth game. Wealth does not follow politics. Politics follows wealth. Say that again. Let me say that again. Wealth does not follow politics. The politicians don't tell the wealthy what to do. The wealthy tell the politicians what to do. So if you want to make change in America, you don't make change by just hoping that you vote for the right white person. You make change by building wealth and building strong economic institutions within the community that you care about. That's how you get strength. That's what moves this country. So I think right now America's in shock. I think that the future of the black community will be determined by black people. I don't believe that these politicians are going to make a difference in my life or yours. I just haven't seen any evidence to that effect. I'm looking here. Let me do a quick check. It looks like CNN is still stuck at 238 and 215. It looks like Fox is still stuck at 254 and 215. I don't know if anybody's seen anything change. I just kind of figured it might be nice to hang out. Let me see here. Maisha says, speak on it. Well, that's all I know how to do is speak the truth, from my point of view. I don't pretend to know all the answers. I don't. Bridget says, my concern is the good old boys that think they have free reign to freely spit in our faces now. Maybe they do, and it could happen, but you know what? Our ancestors have survived worse than Donald Trump. If you go to headsofhate.com, go to headsofhate.com, you could actually see the video series that we have where we actually highlighted all the horrible things that past American presidents have done to harm black people and to keep black people from progressing. So really, if you look at what our ancestors have overcome, it's nothing compared. What we're doing is nothing compared to what they've done. Now, what I'm going to find to be really interesting is Donald Trump getting revenge on all the Republicans that didn't support him. You had a lot of Republicans that did jump ship. They literally just said, we're not backing this guy. I'm not voting for him. I don't want him to, I don't want him in the White House. I'd rather vote for Hillary. So, now that he gets that power, it'll be very interesting to see how he responds with that. Donald Trump's a dick. Donald Trump's an absolute, total, complete motherfucking dick. He's such a jerk. And I'll tell you, Billy says, much love, respect, and love to you, Dr. Boyce. Well, appreciate you, man. Thank you very much, Billy Battle. I appreciate you. Donald Trump is an arrogant white male. He's a prototype of that. So it'll be interesting to see if how he gets revenge on his political enemies. It'll be interesting to see how he gets revenge on Hillary Clinton, because somebody was mentioning at the Republican, the Republican headquarters, they started chanting, lock her up, lock her up. So I think, the idea of somebody getting into office, getting into the White House and using the power of the presidency to exact political revenge on an enemy is kind of a scary thing. Like that is a little bit unnerving. It's something that we don't expect to see in the United States, but I'll tell you what, it's real. So let me see here. Some people were answering the question about the differential between 258 and 214. Okay, somebody said ABC has Trump at 244. Fox News is actually right. Donald Trump is going to win that state according to D. Hampton. Ryan Charlton says, I'm seeing 244. Okay. Ivan Campbell says Trump has won already. Let's get ready for Giuliani to be in charge of the Justice Department. It's not funny. It's just, it's real. It is what it is. Michelle Martin says CNN has been slow all night. I agree. It's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see who gets rated on their election night coverage. Let me see here. I'm gonna ask anybody for any updates on the election that I can share. Let's see here. Okay, I want to ask around and see if anybody has any updates, guys. I love to see what's going on, so maybe I can update you guys. I know this is more of a different kind of live stream. Typically I have a complete agenda in terms of exactly what I'm going to talk about, but I think tonight it's just kind of like, we can sort of sit together and just kind of figure this out and kind of take a look at what's going on. Jackie says, let's hear what Dame has to say as well. I'll let Dame say that on his channel. Marvel says, what's wrong with Canada? I don't think there's anything wrong with Canada. I think you really will see people move to Canada. I think there are people that are literally that afraid of a Trump presidency that they'll move to Canada. I personally think you're being a little too serious. I think that as black people, I think we're going to be fine, whether you have a Trump president or not. I think that this election also shows that America is devolving. It's actually, because our government has been so stagnant, so screwed up, so unproductive. We've had so many do nothing Congresses and do nothing Senates that you're going to eventually get to the point. Unfortunately, you may get to the point where the nation just devolves into chaos. Because you didn't deliver for the American people. So it's kind of messed up. Let's see here. Christopher says, "Why do you work for him?" Work for who? Let me see. Let me find some other comments on my Facebook page. By the way, if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, you can go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. Also, if you want to know about some of our really great programs and wealth building initiatives, you can go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. And our new film, The Secrets of Black Financial Intelligence, it is released this week on the 10th, tomorrow. You can actually purchase a copy or check out the trailer at blackfinancialintelligence.com. That is blackfinancialintelligence.com. If you choose to pre-order, use the discount code POWER to get 25% off. Use the discount code POWER. Okay, let's see. Reggie says your feed was interrupted a few minutes ago. You were betting in 20 years. Can you recap on what you were saying? You know what, Reggie, I wish I could remember what I was saying, brother. I don't even know what I was talking about in 20 years. I think that I was saying that in 20 years, maybe I was saying in 50 years, I believe that that the trend for black people will be related to us building our own institutions. I think that that's what the next step in our evolution is. I think that we've had many, many, many decades and even some centuries where we've been trained to believe that really attaching ourselves to what white folks have and what white folks have built is our key to our salvation. And I just don't believe it is. I believe that for black people to really be strong, I think that developing our own institutions is a critical dimension to us moving into the 21st century with strength. And that's just my 2 cents on it. Let's see here. Shaquita Graham says, racists are essentially cowards. They target the weak. Stop being weak. Huh, okay. Maybe it looks like she's mad at somebody. Don't know who she's mad at. But I love you, Shaquita Graham. Shaquita Graham is cool. She's actually a friend of mine. Kimberly says this election was about putting Republicans back into power, and they did just that. Yeah, a lot of people are very upset about the government. It seems like what drives politics now, the one thing that the Americans are unified on is their sick disdain, their irritation with the way things are done in Washington, right? So where the Democrats lost, if you ask me, is they lost by virtue of the fact that we brought a candidate that didn't bring change, right? If we brought forth Bernie Sanders like they really should have done, except for the fact that they corruptly, undermined his campaign. If we had brought forth the Bernie Sanders, or really, I'm not. Again, these white folks don't do a whole lot for me, to be honest with you. But if we had brought forth, say, a Bernie Sanders instead of a Hillary Clinton, I believe they could have won. I believe the Democrats could have won because Hillary Clinton, unfortunately, she totally represents the establishment in a time where people are sick of the establishment. Don't nobody want to hear nothing about the fact that you have all this experience as a Washington insider because we're sick of the Washington insiders. We don't want people in Washington who are, just like the people that we can't stand, and I think that to me, if I had to pick one thing, I would say that's it. And what's fascinating to me is that when you saw toward the end, you saw where the media was just hammering away on the whole Trump situation with that whole, grab him by the pussy comment. And I said, okay, this seems awkward. This seems so weird. It's almost like they're obsessed with this. Like they're trying to drill it into our minds to feel a certain kind of way about this. Now, of course, what he said was inappropriate. Of course, Donald Trump's a prick. We know that. But it just seems so strange how they were working so hard to really just drill it home. And I said, this media is not, unbiased. Like they really have an issue with Trump. So I think that the liberals, because we've got, they got the celebrities, they got the wealthy people, they've got the big media outlets, they own New York City, which is the media capital of the world. you see where the liberals just have a louder voice, and because their voice is louder, we thought they were going to win. I think a lot of people showed up. I believe that a lot of people showed up to Hillary Clinton's little gathering because they thought they were going to be having a victory party. They probably thought they'd be going home early and celebrating and whatever. And it's not happening that way. Let's see here. Tiara says Trump is going to win this election, Boyce. Let's see here. Ivan says Trump won. You are happy, right? Private prisons might come back. So Ivan apparently is assuming that I supported Donald Trump. The answer is no. I did not vote for Donald Trump, but but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna let you make me think that I had anything to do with this chaos. If Hillary wanted your vote, she would have earned my vote. If she didn't want it, she didn't earn it. She didn't get it. So if you earn my vote, I'll give it to you. If you don't earn it, if you just take me for granted because you think I'm your little pet nigga, I'm not gonna vote for you because I'm not your pet nigga. And maybe in 2020, maybe they'll work a little harder and actually earn a black vote, and then maybe they can win an election. Let's see. Roz says Trump and Hills are neck and neck in the popular vote. Trump is diametrically leading the only vote that matters, which is the electoral vote, and the Republicans have taken the House and the Senate. Yes, let's look at that. Let's look at some of these election results so we can kind of see what's going on with the House and the Senate. All right, so let's see here. If you look around, what we're seeing here, okay. Now, Google, I guess Google is about as maybe one of the more unbiased sources that you might find. So what I'm seeing on Google is that Trump has 244, Clinton has 215. Let me widen the screen a little bit so I can see this fine print a little better. All right, so let's see. Latest results. Clinton has won Nevada. Trump has won Iowa, Utah, and Georgia. I was amazed at the way Trump blew away Hillary in Iowa. I mean, not Iowa, but in Utah. I said, wow, those people in Utah are real interesting. In the Senate, 34 seats are up for re-election. Right now, Republicans have 48. The Democrats have 47. Latest results, the Democrats won Nevada. In Wisconsin and Idaho, the Republicans got some wins. For the U.S. House, it's 244 to 166. So the Republicans are really killing the Democrats in the House. Governorships, the ones I'm seeing, looks like the Democrats won Delaware, Indiana, Missouri, Utah, North Dakota, Vermont. Our Republican Democrat is Oregon, Washington, and West Virginia. And so let me see here. I'm trying to see if there's any more interesting information that might be helpful to the conversation. Okay, I don't see anything. Yeah. Let me see here. Ben says your vote doesn't mean what you think it means. Let's see. Christopher says stop beating people up because they didn't vote. They did or didn't vote. Work on solutions. I agree. I've told people, look, if you want to vote, you should vote. If you believe in the system, then you should do what you're going to do. But just understand that the same enthusiasm that we had for voting for Hillary or whoever you voted for, you should have more enthusiasm when it comes to building your family and building your community. Pooling our money will always have a greater impact on our future than pooling our votes. Coming together economically will always have a greater impact than coming together politically. Remember, political gains are temporary. They are they can be taken back. They can be rolled backwards. As soon as white folks get mad at you, they can start changing laws and taking stuff back. And also remember that American politics, if American politics and American wealth are a cart and a horse, the horse is always the wealth. The wealth drags the politics. The politics does not move the wealth. So if you're trying to actually develop economic equality or economic progress for black people, you're not going to get it through political systems. You're not going to get it by voting. Rich people will never vote you away their wealth. Rich people will never allow you to vote your way into the wealthy class. You have to fight there. You have to fight to get there. You have to make certain moves. I believe that we can fight the war without there being bloodshed. I believe we fight through unity. We fight through education. I've told 1,000. I've told probably 100,000, 1 million people. I spoke in 40 cities this year talking about wealth building. I went to over 40 cities, and one of the things that I have told people is, look, if you want to be a millionaire, if you want your child to be a millionaire, it's very easy to do that, actually, based on the history of the stock market. All you got to do is invest $100 a month in the market, and you can pick any stock that you want. You don't even have to pick any particular company. You just pick different stocks, as long as you pick different ones and you do it consistently. If you had followed that same strategy over any 30-year period in American history, your child would have at least $300,000 to $400,000 in liquid cash. And if you match that with entrepreneurial ability, your child can easily turn that 300,000 to 400,000 into $1 million or $2 million. So the point is not the fine print of whether or not they would technically be a millionaire or not. If you do, believe me, historically, if you did that with say $300 a month, which a lot of people can do, the average car note is $518. So I hope that your child's future is worth more than a car note, right? So if you did $400 or $500 a month over any 30-year period and just invested in any random stock, literally a monkey, they've run this test literally with real monkeys, blindfolded monkeys. A monkey could be a millionaire by investing $400 a month in the market and randomly picking stocks. And I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not making this up. Go look up the study. I want you to go and I want you to Google the words monkey stock market research study. Google those words and you can read all about it, read the details so you know I'm not lying to you. And the reason it's important to understand that is because a lot of black people think that I'm just, making stuff up, that I'm selling snake oil. And I try to tell them, I was teaching finance at the college level when I was 22 years old. I'm not a stupid person. I'm not somebody who doesn't understand this shit. And so the thing is that bothers me is that we have so many people that really think that being poor is something that you're just cursed with, that you're just stuck with until you die. And my good friend Yvette Carnell, we go back and forth on this. She'll talk about this a lot. She'll be like, she'll talk about like poverty as if you can't fix your poverty situation unless the government helps you. And maybe that's true for the masses. I think that you could say that's true for the masses because the masses of people are not gonna get the right information. They're not gonna look for it. It's available. I mean, anybody who watches The Breakfast Club can get financial information from me. If you just sign up, if you go to drboycewatkins.net and sign up for free, you will get more information from me about money and wealth than you will ever receive on a college campus. I guarantee you that. And those who take a class from me, which usually doesn't cost more than $100 a month, can get 10 times more information. I mean, pretty much anything you need to know. So this idea that somehow information is only available to certain people, that's stupid. That's crazy. It's ridiculous. I mean, basically, any of these kids in the hood that can afford a cell phone can afford to get the information they need to learn what they need to learn. So, my point is that, at the end of the day, though, what's really sad about human nature, this is something that bothers me as a person who believes in high achievement, who teaches about achievement. What really bothers me is that you have to accept the fact that even if you lay all the information out there, even if you give everybody every opportunity you could possibly think of, if you make it easy for them to go pick up the information, some people just aren't going to have the discipline. Some people are just not going to make that decision. Some people are going to spend more time watching Basketball Wives than they're going to spend planning for the future of their family. Some people are just going to fall to the wayside. Some people are just not going to try. Some people are going to try too late. Some people just aren't going to listen. And those are the people that you feel sorry for because, unfortunately, those are the people that you end up having to go back and save later on when they become a victim of their own lack of activity, their own lack of action. So those who are watching right now, what I would argue is that you're people of action. You're different. You're a person that does something different from other people. You're a person that's trying to improve something in your community and your family. So I encourage you to just be that person and know that as a leader, one of the unfortunate things about being the leader, it's like being on a basketball team. If you're the captain of the team and you score the most points, if you're LeBron James or you're the Michael Jordan of your family, the sad thing is that a lot of people in your family just aren't going to be that good. They just aren't going to have the same ability to play that you have and all sorts of stuff. Now, I see Yvette Carnell is live on her page. I'd love to hear what Yvette has to say. We should get on here and just argue it out. But I don't know if Yvette can see me, but I can see her. I see that she's live. Yvette Carnell is really good. You go to breakingbrown.com and you can check out her stuff. And she's live on her page, which is really cool. A lot of people are on her live feed, so I think you guys should check her out. I like Yvette a lot. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to take off and go to bed actually because I'm actually a little bit tired, and we'll see how this election thing turns out. By the way, if you want to check out our new film, The Secrets of Black Financial Intelligence, go to blackfinancialintelligence.com. That's blackfinancialintelligence.com. If you want to know about our other programs, you can go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. Go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. And also we have our series on American presidents called Heads of Hate. You can check that out at headsofhate.com. So go to headsofhate.com if you want to check that out. All right, guys, I'm out of here, and I love you, and I hope you have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace.